Hi, I'm Matt Little. I'm the Director of Counselling and Education at Empowering Awareness.Asia, and I'm a proud sponsor of this podcast.
How are you?
I'm great, Gemma. How are you?
I'm okay. Good to see you. Good to see you.
Good to see you. I'm very sorry for making you wait.
No, it's fine. It's fine. It's fine. I booked out the time anyway, so it's all good. All good. Yeah, yeah.
So can we
So
start?
how do I pronounce your? Is it Sai?
Yeah, Sai.
Oh, okay. Cool. 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 Cool.
Yeah. So can
Because
we
you're
start?
nighttime at the moment, right?
Yeah, it's 8 p.m., 8:15 p.m.
In
here.
India.
Yeah.
Is it? Yeah. Okay. Where it's like, yeah, it's coming up to 4 p.m. here in the UK. So yeah, yeah. I thought it was a
Sure.
late one for you. Yeah.
Yeah. So can we start?
Yes, of course. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Hi, Gemma.
Hi. How are you?
I'm great. How are you doing?
Good. Very well, thank you. Very well. Thank you for having me on the podcast today.
Thank you very much for giving me opportunity to interview you for my YouTube channel and podcast and for my channels. So I've gone through your profile. I can see you have done a lot of work and also you're doing a lot of work. So I thought to tell about your work to my audience. So can you please introduce yourself to my audience?
Yeah, sure. And so, like I said, thank you for having me. So my name is Gemma Adair. I'm the founder and principal marketing consultant at Riada Consultancy. I'm based in London in the UK, and Riada Consultancy helps companies align and develop their marketing and sales capabilities to achieve revenue, impact and growth. We help leaders and teams incorporate, the right marketing and sales tools and tactics and activities to achieve their business goals and objectives. Yeah.
Great. When did you start this and what made you to come into, do this?
Sure. So I've been in marketing now, gosh, for about 20 years and probably 15 years of that is within the tech space. So I actually started my first tech role as a marketing assistant when I was, gosh, it was back in 2011 for a Microsoft partner. And I've been within the Microsoft ecospace since then, working for, different sort of partners within the tech space. And I've always had engagements with Microsoft because of joint marketing activity and so on and so forth. So I also worked for a AWS partner for some months. So that was a little bit of a change from the Microsoft ecosystem. I've always loved marketing. I believe I was destined to be in marketing and sales. I think there's been a lot of influence from growing up, with my sisters and my family and so on and so forth. I actually grew up in a pub, a bar. I actually lived on the top of it. So I'm originally from Ireland. So I came over to the UK when I was 8. And, they used to host a lot of different events and things like that. So I think for me, marketing and sales, up until this present day has been influenced since I was around sort of 14, 15. The reason why I wanted to start Riada, Riada's quite dear to me in that sense because for me, Riada is not just a brand. It's my legacy. It's my heritage. And any sort of houses or wherever we lived, we always had a Riada plaque that was outside the house. And Riada is actually my surname backwards. So that's where the whole Riada kind of stems from. And I wanted to run my own consultancy because I'm extremely passionate about adding value and serving clients and just changing the narrative of sales and marketing and sales, however you want to sort of position it. But just, I think there's a lot of education that still needs to be done around, well, what is marketing? What is sales? And what's critical for me is actually bringing alignment, bringing them both together in those conversations. And I've been doing that ever since I can remember, from, starting in marketing, bringing marketing and sales together. So it's, with what I'm doing now, it's kind of bringing that to the forefront and educating whoever I'm working with, whatever projects I'm doing, is really kind of educating, empowering, mentoring, on just what marketing and sales is. And it's critical for organizations today.
So what you're doing with Riada now?
So most of my clients sit within the tech space, because that is where my tech background stems from. So right now, Riada offers consultancy. The other few things that it offers as well is interim resourcing. So perhaps a organization, company, whether they're a startup or a medium or a large enterprise, they might need resource for a particular time period or for a particular project. So I will step in and help those organizations. I also, as part of that sort of interim resource, is I provide mentoring to teams, to whoever I am sort of working with. And I'm quite passionate about the mentoring side as well. So, Riada offers consultancy, interim resource, workshops and speaking engagements. So someone might want me to speak at a particular event, or perhaps they might want me to speak within their organization. And in and around of what I do, I'm also a trustee of an organization called the Riada Foundation that helps disadvantaged young people and get them into programs. Our golden objective is to make them the leaders of tomorrow, and to give them the tools and the foundations to empower them and build their futures to become the next leaders.
Great. So why marketing? Is this the passion that you have, since you have been in technology from past 10 years working in Microsoft, AWS? So why marketing, and why you are into it?
Yeah, so as I mentioned before, I think this is my destiny. This was my calling. This was my why. I think, and that's why also I also have a podcast, which is what sales and marketing got to do with it, because again, just changing the narrative around, well, what is sales and marketing? I believe a lot of marketing and sales professionals don't get the kudos in terms of, from working within those roles. So I wanted to create a podcast to educate, to give people insight into, well, what is sales and marketing? What is a day-to-day look like of a sales and marketing professional? And it's also to educate those that sit outside the business, outside of those functional areas like C-suite, but also young people that want to kind of get into the space. And just I think if I look back on my professional sort of journey, like I said, I've been working since I was 14, 15. I've done, retail sales. I've done recruitment for a short period. I've worked in market research. So I did that for a year. So I've done a lot of, I think, leading up to this point. I classify myself as a generalist. I'm not a specialist in any particular area of marketing, but if you want to run a multi-channel cross-region campaign, if you want to run a roadshow or an event of any kind, if you wanted to, promote multi-channel sort of activity on socials and so on, I can definitely give that insight. And for me, it's about purpose. It's about my why. It's about, adding value and empowering, clients and the organizations that I work with. I think a lot of people say they're marketing and they're sales and so it's quite saturated. So I want to kind of just ensure that organizations and the projects that I work on get the right advice and the right guidance. It's not about one size fits all. It's about, really tailoring, looking at, what is your strategy? What marketing or sales have you done, and how does that align with your business goals and objectives? But also, do you have the right resource in place in order to execute upon that? And I think that's what's really critical as well. I think you can throw something at something, throw marketing or throw sales at something, and just what we like to call, just hope it sticks. But that's not always the case. You really need to take a step back and get a 360 view of what actually is going on. But I think, I just love marketing. I just love doing marketing. I love being involved, working with marketing and sales teams, because I understand the environment, I understand the industry, and I understand the pain points and the challenges that organizations and teams have. So for me, I act as that kind of partner. I collaborate with organizations. And that's why I'm passionate.
Change is constant in technology, and how you are able to help your clients in adapting to the new that is happening every time.
Yeah, it's a very good question, because as you know, marketing changes constantly. Tech constantly changes. So for me, it's just keeping abreast of what's happening in the market, industry trends, looking at other sort of key influences out there in the space. I think I'm absolutely privileged and blessed to be in the tech space and in the Microsoft ecosystem currently. I am part of a committee that helps plan and organize an event, probably one of the largest Microsoft community events in the UK, which is called Scottish Summit. And part of my role is to promote that event on all of our social media channels and so on and so forth. And I just love what that space gives you. I'm learning constantly. I love that the Microsoft community and network, I'm learning from others that are doing the tech, that are involved in the tech, whether that's, Dynamics 365 to Azure to other sort of cloud technology. So it's, I try to tap in to different spaces. I'm also looking to pursue, learning and getting some certs myself and stuff. So I'm forever evolving. I don't know everything, but I'm passionate and I want to know as much as I possibly can.
And when you're interacting with different clients, different businesses, you'll be seeing, they are lagging, or they are doing some mistakes, which not letting them to scale up, or go towards their goals. So, how different it is working with different business, and what kind of problems that you see that you help them to overcome.
So I think one of the things, and I'm a firm believer, as what I do is in Riada is that whole kind of sales and marketing alignment, but also just for organizations to really understand what their strategy is, understand what their business model is, and sometimes, I do get involved in the business strategy side, because there's a lot of organizations, not every organization, just some organizations which they don't have a business strategy in place. And that's really critical for me working on the marketing side, because as part of what I do is I carry out an audit, I create a strategy, I might go in and update an existing marketing strategy, sales strategy that you might have. And I think that's one challenge that organizations have, is that they they don't have a robust sort of business strategy in place. They don't have the knowledge perhaps on what their go-to market is. What channels do they want to sell into? Who is their target audience? Pricing comes into things as well, and so on and so forth. So there's times when I'm sort of, working with clients, that's the question that I always ask. What is your business strategy? Because if I'm creating, the marketing strategy, we need to align just as much on the marketing and sales front. So if you think about it, there's three different things. There's the business, there's the marketing, and then there's the sales. So they all need to be aligned, and that's really critical. And I think there's, I think there is a way to go in terms of gaps in that. And that's why I do what I do, right? Because for a lot of these organizations, particularly the startups or the smaller organizations, their organization and business is their bread and butter. It's their babies, essentially. And it's really important for me to help them get them to that point to which I will empower them to be confident in what it is they're driving, and to educate them as much as possible up until that point. And just to kind of mentor them and help them grow and scale in a sustainable way. And I think that's really important. It's not short term, it's long term for me. And that's my kind of ethos. Yeah.
So, what is your observation about technology evolution?
So, AI is big right now. I think not only from a technical perspective, but also on the marketing side as well. I'm someone that looks at. I'm constantly in tech. I use tech within my business. I use SharePoint, Microsoft 365. I embrace tech because I've been in it for so long. And I think for me to work with tech clients and work on tech projects, I have to be tech myself. So I immerse myself as much as possible into, using different tools, different things. I do use AI on my side. I dabble in it, I play around with it. And I think from an AI perspective, I think people look at it, there's pros and cons to it. I think it's how you look at it. It's how you, I think it is exciting. It's an exciting space. It's going to evolve, a lot within the next year. It's already evolved, so much. So I think for me, it's about keeping abreast of that, keeping close to it, and not being scared with it. And it's also about working with my clients to understand the opportunity that tech can provide, not only for their business, but also within their marketing and sales, and how that can be used to, to make their lives easier, and to grow in the direction that they want to grow in.
And how do you take right decisions for your clients?
So obviously from my perspective, the one thing that's very, very key for me is what is the objectives for the client? What are they looking to achieve? Because first and foremost, it's not about me, it's about the client. It's about their business. It's about what they want to achieve. And that could be, there could be different sort of objectives that they might have. I think initially when I first start a project, there might be one objective, but the more you kind of, explore the organization, get to know the founder or the team or, the operations, you start to find other sort of opportunities, other gaps for them to grow and scale and so on. And that's what I love. It's about that discovery, that exploration of what you can find out when you work with a client. So what starts off as an objective as a challenge could lead to multiple other challenges or other sort of opportunities. And I think what's key is it's about the client. It's about what they want. It's about the direction that they want to go in. And the decisions that I am, guiding them on or advising them on is based upon my experience of all the 15 years that I've got behind me. But it's also what I'm seeing in the industry because I'm so close to it. And it's also about other clients or other projects that I'm working on. Is there common themes or a common thread? Or perhaps, I think there's one thing for me as well is, I bring my network into the mix of things. I liaise with a lot of different agencies and a lot of different third parties. So it's really important for me also to select the right third party and agencies that are aligned with their business, their objectives, and so on and so forth. So it's all about the client for me. It's all about the organization and what they're trying to achieve.
And how is working with businesses which belongs to different industries?
So I love working, with different types of businesses of all sizes because, and I think I believe that's why I also, I liked marketing because marketing, I've experienced working on multi-channel cross-sector industry campaigns, which are, across different regions, UK, across EMEA. So I'm very familiar and abreast of different sort of campaigns and different nuances and so on and so forth. And I think, that's the exciting thing about it. And that's the exciting thing about working, whether that be in tech or whether that be in fintech or whether that be in cybersecurity or whether that be in health tech or something like that. So it keeps it interesting for me. You have to be on your toes constantly. Because like I said, industries change, tech changes, marketing changes, but it keeps it interesting. And I love because I'm constantly learning and I use those learnings and feed it back in to Riada and I feed it back into clients. Any intel or any kind of additional sort of information that I can provide or resources, that's part of what I do as well. So it's good to have a variety.
So, what is the difference between working for a product-based and a service-based companies?
So for me, I would say a lot of my experiences come from service-based, companies, and you could say a bit of mix on the product side as well. For me, it's, I think when you're providing sort of a service or, we call it maybe professional services or whatnot, it's definitely a different sort of sell to product based companies. And I think we have to bear in mind as well is that, product, although someone could be selling a product, they'll have maybe a service on top of what they sell as an additional sort of revenue or revenue stream to their business. So, you get some people that are product based, you get some people that are purely service based, or you get like a hybrid model of the two. So like I said, someone could be selling products, but also offering additional managed services off the top of what they're selling. But I think for me, it's quite nice having that mix of both product and services. But obviously on my side, being a consultancy, I'm purely a service based sort of industry currently. That might change with the evolution of Riada. Watch this space. Yeah.
And what about your team?
So it's just myself at the moment. So I am independent at the moment. But I'm extremely passionate about what I do, and I am looking to grow and scale. Um, I'd say for anyone that's been in business or, can perhaps resonate with this, my main objective through the course of founding sort of Riada back in 2017 was working capital, having money in the bank, being sustainable. And I just wanted to, um, for me, it wasn't about revenue or profit or anything like that. It was purely sustainability up until this point. So I'm now ready to kind of look at other opportunities, different avenues. Um, I'm constantly thinking about different opportunities and different things that I could potentially tap into. And like I said, I just love it because there is a variety with what I currently do. So I will look to kind of build a team, whether that be 1, 2, 3, 5, 10, who knows? So, but I'm in this for the long run for sure. Yeah.
And what is your geographical area, and also what is the uh, price of your service?
So my geography, did you say, with regards to
I
the
mean,
kind of
you where you provide your
serve?
service.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, so I can serve different regions, different countries. So I am remote in that sense. So currently I serve clients within the UK. But that's not to say I couldn't serve clients outside of the UK. I'm open to those opportunities given my experience in marketing where I've served, multi regions, with my experience. Um, and with regards to pricing, it's very much so based on the requirement, the scope of work, with regards to the project. So whether that's day rate or project based, it tends to kind of, fit in between those two. But really depends on the requirements, the needs. Where is it? Is it UK or is it sort of outside of that? But yeah, that's how I tend to work on my side. Riada tends to work.
And what is your skill set, and what kind of problems that you solve to any businesses or any business owners who are watching this, and if they are looking for a problem to be solved? And can you be very specific, like what you can do for them in order to
Definitely.
see the highest level of success?
Yes, definitely. So, I think what's really important is that I help, companies, um, align and develop their marketing and sales capabilities. And what I mean by that is, to some organizations, they're not from a marketing background or they're not from a sales background. So I can help them, um, you know, kind of set the foundations with regards to marketing and sales to help them on that road to success. Particularly for those that are sort of founders or startups and so on, I can go in and basically get them going with their marketing and sales activity. So they will obviously seek my advice and helping them to do that. With regards to the more sort of, global organizations, enterprise organizations, it's really about going in and helping them streamline their operations, helping them, identify gaps, opportunities where they haven't explored before. So I'm the eyes, the ears behind, all of that, where I can really help identify where, their go to market, their routes to market, and how they can leverage their partnerships and that kind of ecosystem to excel them as to where they need to get to.
So, what is the biggest problem that you solved?
So I would say the biggest problem that I solve is how to market, who to market to, how to sell, what does that look like? So as you quite rightly mentioned before, there's service-based industries, product-based industries, there's a hybrid of the two. So just really understanding what they do in terms of like their value proposition. So who they are, what they represent, you know, what is it that they're selling, who they're selling to, and what does that look like? You know, we like to call it, you know, personas, avatars, you know, what does that ideal customer prospect look like? And that's a lot of work that I pull together so that they can get really clear on who they're trying to sell to and through what channels and what markets.
And the clients that you will be interacting, like how you you know design the you know design the marketing strategy, and also the time that will be taken in order to solve the given problem, and
Yeah,
how
yeah.
and I'm sure you'll be working with small to medium and large scale companies. So the time required for this, and also the demand in the market for that particular service, and like you are a research oriented person. So how you're going to help them, and how the procedure is going to be.
Yeah, sure. So initially with anything, I start off with a marketing audit. So that can be a very small audit or it can be quite comprehensive depending upon the size of the organization, because it's really important for me, you know, before going into any project is just kind of really understanding what the challenge is and what they need in terms of, you know, from a marketing and sales perspective. When I go into an organization and carry out an audit, I look at various different things. I look at their resource. I look at the tech that they currently use. I look at, you know, what marketing are they currently doing? Are they doing any marketing at all? You know, when they get prospects, who follows up? What does that look like? Some organizations are quite, you know, advanced where they might have lead scoring in place. So looking at what that looks like, who monitors leads when they come through, what are the channels in terms of, you know, where does their leads come through from? Websites, you know, cross channel, that kind of thing. And then the next step for me is putting together a strategy. So either reviewing their current strategy and identifying any gaps within that, identifying the opportunities, and then, you know, looking and then sort of carrying that out. So that might take, you know, a few weeks, a month, let's say. And for me, it's about identifying quick wins. So what could we do within the next week, 2 weeks that we could put in place? Or is there some activity or some things that we need to execute on, which will take a little bit of time? And that's the thing within marketing and sales, there's certain things that do take a little bit more time, whether it's 6 to 12 months or whatever, but it's all about identifying quick wins and having a time scale in place on where we can actually implement, the plan and so on, depending upon what comes out of the audit in line with their strategy. And it's working with it's perhaps working with multiple stakeholders within the business. So again, you have to make sure you incorporate that into what you're doing as well as part of the project.
Great. And what is your podcast is about?
So my podcast is about what sales and marketing got to do with it. So it's about, I interview sales and marketing professionals, or perhaps people that have come out of sales and marketing, or perhaps have just gone into sales and marketing. And it's basically a platform that highlights these individuals. I don't discuss any tactics. I don't discuss any strategy. It's purely about the person themselves. It's purely about what's their why, what keeps them up at night, why they wanted to go into marketing or why they've potentially come out of it. And it's a mix of both sales and marketing professionals and leaders. Some of them, have families, kids, some of them have pets and, they do hobbies and they do different things outside of their work. So it's really about showcasing them as individuals and giving them kudos for what they do, because they do such an amazing job within their roles, within sort of marketing and sales.
Great. And as can you share your online presence and also people who wants to contact you? Like can you share those details to my listeners?
Definitely. So I am on LinkedIn, I'm on Instagram, I'm on Twitter, and I'm also on YouTube as well. So, and my website is www.riadaconsultancy.com. And that would be my handle as well, at Riada Consultancy. Please do connect with me. I'd love to just have a conversation if you're experiencing any challenges at the moment, or you just need some nuggets, tips, or insight. I'd be happy to help. But yeah, I'm very, very active on my socials and so on.
Can you spell it to my podcast listeners?
Yeah, so Riada is RIADA, and it's consultancy, CONSULTANCE.
Great. At last, as an expert, as a person who is into technology from long time, as an observer, as a problem solver, what is your observation about my work? Have you seen any videos of mine on YouTube?
I have. You have a lot of podcasts and some great people that you interview, and I think it's amazing, what you currently do and just the reach that you have with the people that you speak to. And I think it's quite nice because you're showcasing people and what they do. I think there's a lot of people, we've got so many experienced, skilled and amazing people across the world, and it's really just beautiful how you showcase them and let them tell their story. And I think that's what's nice. It's about just having people tell their story, and it just gives people different perspectives. So it's really, really cool.
I have done masters in software engineering, also bachelor's in computer science and engineering. Right now, I'm working as a DevOps engineer, cloud DevOps engineer.
Yeah.
That too for a London company. Remotely, I'm working from India. So that's my full-time role. Apart from that, I'm interviewing experts like you who are into business and who are trying to solve business problems and who are working with different businesses which belongs to different sizes. And I'm trying to understand how you are able to do this. And I explored more than 100 countries experts who are working in different industries, and also I try to interview people who belong to non-technology background, like
Mm.
police officers, authors, psychologists, uh, somebody who is not at all connected with professors, chairman of the universities. So, trying to understand human beings who are, living in other parts of the planet. So, as an experienced individual, as a communicator, as a person who involves in different kinds of things, you are a generalist. You see everything.
Yes.
Right. So, what I'm going to learn with this kind of a project and how that is going to be helpful for me in future.
You mean from if someone was to work with me or we were to run a project together, what would they learn from me in terms of me being a generalist?
No, no. Actually, the work that I'm doing globally. So, how
Yes.
this project is going to be helpful with your experience as a generalist? what is your observation about the work that I'm doing, how it is going to be helpful for me in future?
Oh, okay. I see what you mean. Yes. So it's great because you have a lot of different people that have come onto your platform and that you've interviewed. And I think what's great is that there's different perspectives from different industries. There's different perspectives from technical standpoint, but also just from different size of organizations. From what I gather from what's on your platform and who you've interviewed, and I think for me, we could all learn from each other. I think there's different nuances in different countries. We could all, embrace different cultures and different setups there. And I think there's a lot of insights and lessons learned. And I think, why not, Si? Let's have an event and just bring everybody together, and we can meet in person one day. So that would be great. But yeah, I think there's a lot of nuggets from your podcast and the people that you interview, and I think it's really important because a lot of from what I've seen is that people show up with passion. They want to add value, they want to make their mark, but they want to generate impact for themselves, their network and the communities that they serve. And I think that's what it is. It's about not just being in business and not just being in the roles, but giving back as much as possible. I think, it's fine to, have a 9 to 5 and things like that. But, why do you want to be there? Why do you want to show up in the way you do? Like, is there something that you might want to get involved in for the organization that you work for and kind of take it that step further? So it's just, I think there's this podcast and, it's great. It's great, all the different insights and bringing all this knowledge and tips and guidance together.
It's a great feedback that I ever heard from any expert that I interview.
Good.
Can I put this video on my YouTube channel with your permission?
Of course you can. Yes, indeed. Yeah, you can indeed. Yeah.
And also, can I put this audio and video clip on my podcast, website, internet, social media, everywhere with your permission?
You can indeed. Perfect. Absolutely fine. And I will also push it out to, being the marketer that I am, I will push it out to my channels as well. And I think it'd be great to get you more kudos than what you currently get already. I think it's wonderful what you're doing. So keep up the great work.
I hope your work reaches to a lot of businesses, and I'm sure the businesses who will get a service from you, will increase their value and also increase the productivity because of the passion and because of the experience that you have, and the curious person in you is making people and also businesses believe that you can do great things. I
Oh,
want you
thank
to
you.
reach everywhere.
Thank you so much. Yeah, no, I think I'm extremely passionate about, what I do because I always harp on in my socials, particularly LinkedIn, about, I really understand my why. Like it's ingrained in me as to, how I show up, just the value that I want to add to people. And, I want to serve. And I think with my knowledge and my skills and my network and connections, I want to serve others at a larger scale. For me, where I'm at right now, it's just not big. Big enough's probably not the right word, but I want to serve, I want to help, I want to support, because there's people out there that need that clarity. And if I can say, there's a lot of BS out there, and it's detrimental to the industry of which I'm in, and that's even from a marketing, sales, and tech perspective. Like, and it's about kind of just changing the narrative, the story that people get told, or, you know, it's being authentic. I think you have to be authentic in the best possible way you can be, you know. Yeah.
That's great. Thank you, Gemma, for your valuable time and sharing about your business and the sharing about the work that you're doing and answering to some of my questions.
Thank you. No, thank you for having me today. I'm glad I followed through and actually came onto the podcast. So, but it's been great. Thank you so much. And really interesting questions as well. Yeah.
Yeah, again. Take care. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.